Well, it's happened. The Seattle Kraken have finally emptied the Berkey basket.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Seattle hockey fans. Welcome to a special edition of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your favorite team every single day. My name is Ayala, coming to you from our new headquarters. I'm a little sweaty. It's the penultimate weekend in my current setup, so trying to get a lot of the heavy lifting done. Want to let you know today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. You know, if I were a theater major or, a theater child, I might be tempted to sing to you. Not that I haven't sung to you before on the episode. Erica L. Ayala here, by the way, your host of Locked On Kraken, also a contributor to CBS Sports, and will be an accredited media member at the Milano Cortina Olympics. So we're not several months away from that, but the excitement palpable for me and the first 6 players named to each one of the 12 teams on the men's side. For the women's side, we got to wait a little. Okay. Back to my theater major, because put it in the chat now. For my theater enthusiasts, if you get the reference for the thumbnail of this video, please put it in the chat now. Please put it in the chat right now. That's right. Bye-bye, Berkey. The Blackhawks gotcha now. That's right. Andre Burakovsky traded to Chicago. We get Joe Veleno in the trade. I'm going to break this down a little bit more as far as particularly what Joe brings to the Seattle Kraken. But I wanted to have this episode to talk, this little bonus episode to talk about Andre Burakovsky. I know some listeners over the years have defended Andre Burakovsky, have said, he's been hurt, yada, yada, yada. I've been telling you, everydayers, OGers especially know this. If you listen to this show regularly, I have always said, do not put all of the eggs in the Andre Burakovsky basket. He was healthy last year. Now, we had an episode. I was on the road. I remember very specifically. I was at my alma mater, Elon University, and I talked about, I showed you the clip. Andre Burakovsky was working on his mental game, working on getting his confidence back. I can deal with that. Things just didn't work out. There's no need to be ugly about this. I was never super into having Andre Burakovsky on this team. I could forgive one hurt season, another one not ideal, but sure. But last year for me, Berkey got lost in the sauce, but not quite in the same way as McCann. I do think that McCann suffered because this roster didn't have the proper personnel, arguably the talent, to put him in a position to really get his offense going. And yet somehow Jared McCann still was one of our top points getters. Not the same for Andre Burakovsky. Yes, 2-time Stanley Cup winner with the Capitals in 2018, with the Avalanche in 2022. It just never worked out. It never worked out with us. And sometimes that happens. It bees that way sometimes. Andre Burakovsky, what did he do last season? 79 games. He only played 49 games in his first 2 seasons with the Seattle Kraken. 49 games in 22-23, 39 points. The breakdown was 13 goals, 26 assists, 22-23. Yes, that was the year that we went to the playoffs. 23-24, another 49 games, 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points. So you can tell in that season last year, the impact of him not being healthy. Okay, sure. 16 points. 79 games. In 79 games, we got 10 goals, 27 assists for 37 points. Not nothing, but not what we needed. I'm actually surprised it was 27 assists. There was a time there, a period of time where he was really setting up well. And things took a little bit of time to get adjusted. He had 16 average time on ice in 22-23, 16-33, 14-34 in 23-24, and 14-25 last season. His time on ice peaked in 21-22 with the Colorado Avalanche, or excuse me, 22-23 with the Seattle Kraken. Excuse me, I missed that one. 22-23 with the Seattle Kraken, 16-33. And that was actually the most time on ice that he's had in his career. And I think that's because the point of having Andre Burakovsky, like a lot of guys that come to the Seattle Kraken, is that they were role players elsewhere. A lot of them won as role players, second guy, maybe third, fourth guy, go-to guy. But now they want to have an opportunity to be the guy or one of the top guys. And I think you saw that a little bit in that first season. I mean, I liked the edge that he played with. I definitely did. It's just that he got hurt. And then that spark, that fight never really came back fully. And it's just, we need to move on. We needed to move on from Andre Burakovsky, and we have. Jason Botterill, we're going to talk about on the next full episode. I told you I didn't want another season. I didn't want another off season. I didn't want another free agency period of this futzing around, mulling around, all willy-nilly. Jason does not seem to be futzing or willy-nilly at all. And I'm here for it. And we haven't even gotten to free agency. We haven't even gotten to the draft. We're going to talk about the draft a lot in the coming days. But this, to me, is something that needed to happen. To be honest, it's something that needed to happen. Andre Burakovsky just wasn't working out for the Seattle Kraken. Let me know in the comments, though, what do you think about the move away from Andre Burakovsky? And next on the episode, again, a little bit of a shorter episode. You'll see if you're watching on YouTube, some of the rundown. We're going to talk in more detail about that on the next full episode. I just wanted to get something out before I got too busy in the move and didn't get the news up. We're going to talk about Kale Fleury. I do think that there's some indications, perhaps, of what the roster will or will not include, what we're looking for in that move to bring in Cale Fleury, but we'll talk a little bit more about that again on the next few episodes. But right now, I want to let you know, I want you to let me know in the comments. What do you think about the Seattle Kraken, Jason Botterill moving on from Andre Burakovsky? I will say, and I don't remember if I said this on a recorded episode or not, but I've been thinking about it. Him not being at exit interviews for the media. I'm sure he did his exit interviews with the organization. Sometimes that's telling. You already know I will never forgive the on-site media for not asking for Martin Jones after that push to the playoffs. And sometimes I will say, I don't know if this was the case. I have not actually been to Seattle Kraken exit interviews. That's usually around the time where I'm transitioning to WNBA. But sometimes we got to be honest. Sometimes it's not only just because no one has asked for a player, but it's also because PR maybe is picking up some vibes. Maybe they have, they're just picking up some vibes, whether they actually know what's happening or not. And they're like, maybe instead of this person, we'll bring you this person. That could be possible too. But I did find it interesting. It was definitely notable to me that Andre Burakovsky was not available or was not requested for media interviews. So we've moved on from the Berkey basket. Hopefully for me, this means a little bit more spread out expectations when it comes to offense. I just think we put a lot of investment, a lot of energy expecting Burakovsky to hit, and it just didn't hit. Wishing him the best, hoping he stays healthy because that was an issue. But it wasn't a good fit for us. Coming up next, let's talk a little bit about Cale Fleury, and then I'll get you out of here for this bonus episode of Locked On Kraken. As I mentioned at the top, this episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at Game Time. You know, if you're an everydayer and an OGer, this is probably one of my favorites. I don't know if we're supposed to have favorites, but I definitely do. And I just love using Game Time. It's super easy. I use Game Time when I go to Seattle, as an example. And all that free time that I have, I try to squeeze in an M's game, a Mariners game. Good friend of mine, big Mariners fan, and actually likes to go to baseball games. So, I always love that. I don't always get a lot of friends that like to go to baseball games as much as I do, but my good friend Laura does. So, we love when we can go to games together, and Game Time makes it super easy. I can look up the price with everything included so I can stay within my budget. There's so many things that you can do on Game Time, such as looking at your seats. They have the prices that get lower the closer you get to whatever event. And I'm talking about baseball, but you can also look up theater tickets, concert, comedy, etc. So we want you to download that Game Time app. Create an account and use promo code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. We know that the NBA Finals, by the time you're listening to this, are probably over. Who will have won? Is it the state that I happen to live in, or Indiana? We'll find out. But either way, download that Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Check out Game Time. All right. Andre Burakovsky experiment is over. Again, Joe Veleno comes to us. He spent time with Detroit and Chicago last year. Montreal native, has represented his home country of Canada in several tournaments, won gold at the 2023 IIHF Championship, 2020 IIHF World Junior Championship, and the Ivan Helinka Memorial Tournament in 2017. So, I love international hockey. I watch a lot of international hockey, including the Olympics, which, again, I'll be at Milano Cortina. Very excited for that. So, I think we'll get into more of what my expectations are, what the fit could be, where we think he slots into the roster, how this could impact the roster. I'm just thrilled, quite honestly, that we made a move. And for those, I know I tease a lot of you, wrong side of 30 folks. This is a 25-year-old, 201 pounds, 6'1". So I like the size also. We've noticed this in some of the moves that are happening with Jason Botterill. And I think that is because he has made it very clear he's expecting this team to attack the net, get net front. And I love that because Jaden Schwartz is not a big guy. He's a tough guy. He's got grit and sandpaper, but he's not a big guy. Capo Caco gives us a little more size. Yanni Newman, when he was with us, gives us a little bit more size. Ty Cartier, not a big guy. Word on the street is some other Seattle Kraken-based podcasts want to see him hit the road, Jack. We'll see if that's the case. I can understand that. I do think there's a world in which Ty Cartier can still grow and develop. And I'd like to see it because he's got a lot of grit and sandpaper. And, that's the kind of game I want us to play. Not over the top, but, now that we've moved on from Carson Soucy, the young Ty Cartier, he doesn't like folks messing with his teammates. We also don't have a Will Borgen anymore. So there you go. But again, I'm noticing some trends here. And is that going to help us net front? I think it could. Is it going to help us? Are these guys that have a good engine that back-to-back record, not great, and promises to be an issue. I should say the schedule promises to see more back-to-backs, or at least as many back-to-backs, especially knowing that there's going to be an Olympic break next year. So getting some guys with a good engine that can give you some, some good size, have a little bit of moxie to their game. Yeah, I think that can definitely help. So again, I'll break down what Veleno joining the Seattle Kraken means, where we think he's going to slot in, what the last handful of seasons have looked like for him. We're going to talk about that. I also want to just get to Cale Fleury. Kale Fleury, the news for Cale Fleury came in before the news of the trade for Veleno, and it's a 2-year contract, $890 AAV, starting in 25-26, 2-year one-way contract. Here's what Botterill said. Cale's been an important player in our organization. He's developed into a steady and reliable defenseman, and we're happy to have him under contract for the next 2 years. 26 years old, appeared in 14 regular season games this year. Also, of course, was with the AHL for a little bit. 6'1", 204 pounds. So again, it's got some size, can maybe work with that. I find this one a little interesting. I think maybe it speaks to how soon is as soon as possible. I'm using air quotes for those listening on audio. How soon as soon as possible. Settling in with Cale gives me the impression that, as soon as possible might not be next year or even the year after, but settling into someone who knows the organization, who can do a serviceable job. Is he, the end all be all? Absolutely not. Does this mean potentially that another veteran is on the move? We're going to talk about that a little bit more. But Cale Fleury's been with the organization for a little bit. Extending him here is something that Botterill wanted to do. But I want to know what you think. I don't know that I have a strong opinion right now about Cale Fleury. Again, we're going to talk about it in an upcoming episode. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. I think it's more illuminating and interesting as to what the long-term vision might be, because this is not a needle mover, maybe in the way that offloading Andre Burakovsky is, or even getting Mason Marchment. So anchoring things, it's interesting. It's interesting to me, and I'm curious what Botterill is thinking. I'm curious what you are thinking about this. But again, this is a just quick episode. Wanted to get something out in the middle of the move. I don't know if you can see, I'm probably sweating in my Tulsa Oilers hockey shirt today, but I got that big credenza in here all by myself. I'm very excited, starting to get the shelving together. So, the office space is coming together. I'm super excited for that. And I'm excited in the direction the Seattle Kraken are going with some of these off-season moves. I'm just excited that I get to talk about off-season moves. I almost begged for it, and here we are. So let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts about moving on from Andre Burkovsky, extending Cale Fleury for 2 seasons, and what do you think Jason Botterill has up his sleeves? I don't have any. I have short sleeves today. What does he have up his sleeves? What is the vision? What is the direction? And how do these moves impact what maybe we do with our first-round pick? We're going to talk about that in the episodes to come. Hey, be kind to yourselves. Be kind to one another. If you're watching the NBA Finals tonight, enjoy it. Have a good time. I'm going to finish up. I don't know if you can see right here in this corner a little bit of my TV. I'm going to keep watching the WNBA while I unpack the rest of the office. But hold fast. Stay true, and loud and proud we say, let's go Kraken. I will catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.